So I figure I'll share a Dvar Torah from Divrei Yoel that's Shaykh to Purim. This is from Divrei Yoel and Parshas Yisro, even though Parshas Beshalach that the reading comes from that we read on Purim morning of Vayovi Amalek. And so in Parshas Beshalach it says, it's in the book of Exodus, that Joshua weakened Amalek and his people by the sword. So Satmar Rebbe says that his father, Yontiv, explains. What does it mean? Literally it says Lefi Charev means by the mouth of the sword. What does it mean, the mouth of the sword? It should have just said that Joshua weakened them with the sword. What is the mouth of the sword? So the Satmar Rebbe brings from his father the Sigurd Rav, the Kedushas Yontiv, that the Kavana, the intention here is that the reason why they were saved is that they spoke their own language and didn't speak the language of the other nations. And because they were trying to copy the other nations, they spoke. So since the Hebrews spoke their own language, that's what saved them. And that's what it says, that Joshua weakened them by the mouth of the sword, meaning by their mouths, because they spoke in the holy language, and that was the sword that made them win. That's what the Kedushas Yontiv says. So Satmar Rebbe explains this, that we could say that the real weaponry of the Jewish people are their prayers to Hashem. And prayer is also called a sword. We see what the Targum Onkelos says it explains, it says that Jacob told Joseph that he took Shechem above, because that I took from the hand of the Amorite by my sword and by my bow and arrow. And the Targum Onkelos translates Becharbi Bekashti. Bekashti sounds like a Bekosha, which is how he translates it. So it says Becharbi Bekashti, translates B'tzloisi Bevusi, that he says that I took it from the hand of the Amorite by my prayer and by my supplications. Also Hamori also means by words, so I could say I took it by the hands of my words with my prayers and my supplications. So Satmar Rebbe explains, this is what it says, V'yachlosh Yehoshua es Amalek lefi Charev, that Joshua weakened Amalek with the mouth of the sword, means with the mouth of prayer. Means that he conquered him through the power of prayer, that he prayed to God. And the power of this prayer is in the mouth, and that's what it means, Lefi Charev, that the mouth of the sword could really mean the mouth of prayer. Mishadarsha b'Gemara, that's what the Talmud says in Rosh Hashanah, the Chav Tes Amud Aleph, 29a. Vayakashi Yar Moshe Yadei v'Govar Yisrael v'Chashi Yaniach Yadei v'Govar Amalek. It's a Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah, very beautiful Mishnah. It says that when Moses lifted up his hands, the Israelites were conquering, and when he let down his hands, then Amalek was winning the war. I remember once I was with a friend of mine. He asked a shaila from a dayan who was also a Chassidish Rebbe, the Kosovo Rebbe in Borough Park, a very fine person, and he speaks a very good English, Kosovo Rebbe. So he asked him a particular question, something minhagim and things, and the Rebbe answered. He said, "Doesn't make it or break it." So this term doesn't make it or break it. We see here in the Mishnah. It's a lashon Mishnah. V'chiyadav shel Moshe ois milchama or shavers milchama, is the hands of Moses what makes or breaks the war. The Mishnah says that it means that when Moses raised his hands, the people looked up. They were distracted to look up, and they remembered they have a Father in heaven, and they humbled their hearts before their Father in heaven, and that's how they won. So the Satmar Rebbe says, "Tefillah hu avodah shebalev v'haymishdabnu v'slibim b'tefillah v'kabbalas olmo chushamayim." That the meaning of this, the language and so forth, means also we daven in Lashon HaKodesh if we're able to, even though we're allowed to daven in any language. And really, the Kedushas HaLashon really means more to have a clean type of language, meaning not to speak nivel peh, not to be vulgar, and that's the kedusha of the true Lashon HaKodesh. There are no vulgar words in the real Lashon HaKodesh. In Vrit, they take words from Arabic and from other languages because they want to say vulgar things. In Lashon HaKodesh, there are no vulgarities because it's Lashon HaKodesh, the holy language. So really, any language, if you keep away from vulgarity, is called Lashon HaKodesh, and the same thing. He wants to copy the heathens. He'll speak vulgar words. Doesn't just mean to speak a different language, but means to speak with vulgarity. So, but more than that, we see the power of prayer is really a sword. Elav Erechav, Elav Asusim, Nachnu B'Shem Hashem Elokeinu Nazkir. Other people, they might have all kinds of things, chariots and horses to fight. We trust in the name of the Lord our God, and that's how we win, is through the power of prayer. The prayer is our sword in our hand. Meaning, the point of that is to say that Hashem expects us to do some kind of shtadlus. The shtadlus that we do, what is it? God helps us, it helps Himself. Sometimes it's enough just to pray, and that the action of moving your lips is much more powerful than picking up a sword, picking up a gun, picking up anything else. The power, they say the pen is mightier than the sword, but really also the mouth. The power of prayer is mightier even than the pen. It's mightier than all of those things. And it's not because we even earn it through our prayer that God has listened to our prayers. It's because the power of prayer, the only reason why prayer is efficacious is because it demonstrates our total faith in God. Is that by humbling ourselves before God, the way that how Moses lifted his hands, and when the people saw that, they remembered their Father in heaven, and they humbled themselves before God, and they humbled their hearts. And prayer is the service of the heart, meaning if they thought they could go and beat Amalek with swords, they're not going to win. But if they recognize that it's all through the power of God, and we can't do anything, and we have to totally rely on the grace of God, that's how we can survive and be successful in life. And so therefore that's the power, that's the message really of Purim and of Mechias Amalek. And the Amalek Shebedarenu, who think that we have to go up and Al Charb Tzichya, they want to follow that derech. That's not the Yiddish derech. The derech of Yaakov Avinu is B'charvi Ukashli, means B'tzloisa B'vusi, that the sword and the bow and arrow of Yaakov Avinu, of our patriarch Jacob, was his prayers and supplications. That's what really is important, and that's what we really have to focus on, especially now in this time of Purim, which we say Kol Poshet Yad Noisnim Loi. Anyone who stretches out his hand, it's given it to him. And we explained in another video that means not only the halacha that we give tzedakah to anybody even if they don't deserve it, but that God gives to us even if we don't deserve it too. because we don't deserve anything, but ultimately the whole message of life and the whole message of Purim is to accept the kingdom of heaven. Purim is a day of Kabbalah Torah, and through that koyach of humbling our hearts before God, God will have mercy on us and give us everything that we want and need, because we recognize ultimately we're not going to pray for something that we know is not godly. We're going to be too embarrassed to ask for that. So that also teaches us to pray for everything we need is also only to need the things that we can feel comfortable praying for. And so therefore that also teaches us great lessons in faith and in emunah and betochen and hashkafa and all kinds of things. So that's really the tremendous koyach of this Yontav of Purim, which is the whole inyan of a Mechias Amalek, is to have that clear emunah and to humble our hearts before God, and in that way we could be zoicha to all the hashpois tovos and see the ultimate Mechias Amalek, which is what really a friend of mine he wrote. He said, a rabbi who lives in Tennessee, he said Amalek is already dead, and then he wrote a whole poem that seemed to have nothing to do with Amalek, but the point is that that's the inyan, is that really ultimately all the things we want and need are already done. We just have to reveal that and bring out that revelation of the truth, and slowly but surely the world is getting much better and better, even though there's so many koiches that are trying to stop the hisgalus of the goodness, the revelation of all the goodness and the revelation of the kingdom of heaven. There's so many people trying to stop that on every side, and we have to be able to understand that we have to daven, we have to take our mouths to be sword, our prayer, to remove all the klipas and to ultimately bring the scholars Kvod Shemayim B'meir B'mein. Amen. Thank you. Please like, share, and subscribe, and God bless.